This is a reading from the Imitation of Christ by Thomas à Kempis, chapter 6. On the proof of a true lover. Christ. My son, you are not yet a brave and wise lover. The disciple. Why, Lord? Christ. Because as soon as you encounter a little trouble, you abandon what you have begun, and eagerly seek for comfort. A brave lover stands firm in temptation, and pays no heed to the crafty arguments of the devil. He is as true to me in trouble as in prosperity. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 4. A wise lover values not so much the gift of the lover as the love of the giver. He esteems the affection above the gift, and values every gift far below the beloved. A noble lover is not content with a gift, but desires myself above all gifts. All is not lost, therefore, if sometimes you do not feel that devotion to me and my saints that you desire. The good and pleasant affection which you sometimes enjoy is the effect of my grace in you, and is a foretaste of your heavenly home. But do not rely on it too much, for it comes and goes. To fight against evil thoughts as they occur, and to reject with scorn the suggestions of the devil, is a noteworthy sign of virtue and merit. Let no strange fancies disturb you, from whatever source they spring. Hold to your purpose bravely, and keep an upright intent towards God. It is no illusion if you are sometimes rapt out of yourself, yet swiftly return to the usual trivial thoughts of men, for these are involuntary rather than deliberate, and as long as they do not please you, can be turned to your gain, and not your loss. You may be sure that the old enemy is working by every means to frustrate your desire for good, and to entice you away from every spiritual exercise of devotion, from veneration of the saints, from devout meditation on my passion, from profitable examination of your sins, from the guard of your heart, and from the firm resolve to grow in holiness. He suggests many evil thoughts to discourage you, and to draw you away from holy reading and prayer. Humble confession is hateful to him, and if he could, he would make you give up communion. Do not listen to him or believe him, however often he tries to entrap you. Charge him with it. When he suggests evil and unholy things, say to him, Away, unclean spirit. Matthew chapter 4, verse 10. Blush for shame, wretch. You are foul indeed to speak of these things. Off with you, most evil of liars. You shall have no part in me. Jesus will be with me like a mighty warrior, and you will stand confounded. Jeremiah chapter 20, verse 2. I would rather die and suffer any torture than consent to you. Be silent and shut your mouth. I will listen to you no longer, however often you pester me. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? Psalm chapter 27, verse 1. Though a host should encamp against me, my heart shall not be afraid. Psalm chapter 27, verse 3. The Lord is my helper and redeemer. Psalm 19, chapter 14, or verse 14. Give battle like a good soldier. 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 3. And if through weakness you sometimes fall, take greater strength than before, and put your trust in my more abundant grace. Be also on your guard against vain complacency and conceit, for this leads many into error, and causes almost incurable blindness of heart. Let the overthrow of the proud who presumed in their own strength be a warning to you, and keep you always humble. Chapter 7. On concealing grace under humility. Christ, my son, it is safer and better for you to conceal the grace of devotion. Do not boast of it. Do not speak much of it, and do not dwell much on it. It is better to think the more humbly of yourself, and to fear that this grace has been granted to one who is unworthy of it. Never depend too much on these feelings, for they may be rapidly changed to the opposite. When you enjoy such grace, consider how sad and needy you are without it. Progress in the spiritual life consists not so much in enjoying the grace of consolation, as in bearing its withdrawal with humility, resignation, and patience, neither growing weary in prayer, nor neglecting your other acts of devotion. Do willingly and to the best of your ability and understanding whatever lies in your power. And do not neglect your spiritual life because of any dryness or anxiety of mind. There are many who grow impatient or indolent when all does not go according to their wishes. But man's life is not always in his control. Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 23. It belongs to God alone to give and to comfort when he wills, as much as he wills, and whom he wills, just as he pleases, and no more. Some people, lacking discretion, have brought ruin on themselves through the grace of devotion, attempting more than lay in their power, ignoring the measure of their own littleness, and following the promptings of the heart, rather than the dictates of reason. And because they presumed to greater things than pleased God, they soon lost his grace. These souls who aspired to build their nest in heaven, Isaiah chapter 14, verse 13, became needy and wretched outcasts, in order that, through humiliation and poverty, they might learn not to fly with their own wings, but to trust themselves under my wings. Psalm chapter 41, verse 4. For those who are still new and untried in the way of the Lord can be easily deceived and lost, unless they are guided by wise counsel. If they follow their own notions rather than trust others of proved experience, their end will be perilous, unless they are willing to be drawn away from their own conceit. Those who are wise in their own conceit seldom humbly accept guidance from others. A little knowledge and understanding tempered by humility is better than a great store of learning coupled with vain complacency. It is better to have few talents than many of which you might be conceited. Whoever yields himself to joy, forgetful of his former poverty, is very unwise, for he forgets also that pure reverence for the Lord, which fears to lose grace already given. Nor is he wise who in trouble and adversity yields to despair and fails to put his trust in me. The man who feels secure in time of peace will often in time of war be found discouraged and afraid. If you are careful to remain always humble and modest in your own esteem, and to direct and control your own mind rightly, James chapter 4, verse 6, you would not fall so readily into danger and disgrace. It is good advice that, when the spirit of devotion is aflame in your heart, you should consider how you will fare when the light leaves you. When this happens, remember that this light will one day return, which I have now for a while withdrawn. Job chapter 7, verse 19, and Psalm 13, verse 1. As a warning to you, and for my glory. Such a trial is often more profitable than if all went agreeably with you, and in accordance with your wishes. For a man's merit is not to be reckoned by the visions and comforts he may enjoy, nor by his learning in the Scriptures, nor by his being raised to high dignity. Rather is it by his being grounded in humility, and filled with divine love, by his pure, constant, and sincere seeking of God's glory, by his low esteem and honest depreciation of himself, Psalm 15, verse 4, and by his preference for humiliation and despite, rather than honors at the hands of men.